Hi there, so today I'm going to be sharing with you my makeup remover towelette comparison. I have a pretty good representation across the different brands and formulas I believe here. These are all either a Pond's Neutrogena or a Pond's or Neutrogena dupe. So I have here the original Pond's, I have a Neutrogena original, I have the Up and Up brand which compares to the Pond's, I have the CVS version which also compares to the Pond's, and then I have a Walmart Equate version, which is comparable to Pond's. And then finally back here, I have another Equate, and this one compares to the Neutrogena original towelettes. I thought the best ways to do this was an apples-to-apples comparison across the original formula from all of these. I felt like if I started getting into the nighttime version and hydrating versions and different things like that, that it might get a little off track. So I'm just going to stick with the original versions of all of these and give you my impressions of them, different things like saturation, cost, texture, just different things I look for in wipes, and then give you some of my overall impressions and my top pick amongst all of them. So let's just jump right in and get started. Okay, so I just wanted to mention a couple things before we get started and I show you the towelettes here. All of these were purchased with my own money. I was not sent any of these products. I went to each of the individual stores and purchased these, so you know that you were getting a true and honest opinion from me. I don't have a horse in this race, so it doesn't matter to me which one comes out to be the overall winner. I'm just going to try to show you and let you make a decision for yourself as to which one you think is the best buy, best value, and the best formula for you. The second thing that I want to mention is I am going to give you an average price per towelette. And how I went about that is I kept the receipts for each of the packages that I purchased. And of course, I just took that price divided by the number of towelettes in each package. But I also went online and looked at these are mostly travel sizes with the exception of this one down here. So I did want to mention that I also went to the website for each one of these and got a price for the standard size package and the number of towelettes and did an average that way. And then I kind of took the two numbers and came up with an average price per towelette, so that would give a little bit better idea of the cost that you'd be looking at for this. Again, that's probably going to vary by region and by store, different things like that, but I did my best to give you at least a reasonable idea of what these would cost. Also, you know, these will cost more in these smaller size packages when you're only getting 5 or 7 towelettes, and then as you go up to the quantities of 30 or 40, of course the price does go down a little bit, so just keeping that in mind. So let's get started taking a look at each of these. The first one I'm going to show you is the Pond's Original Fresh Wet Cleansing Towelette. This one has a really nice texture to it. That's the first thing that I noticed. It's a different texture than any of the other wipes. It has a really nice quilting. It gives it a lot of a nice grab, I think, when you're using this to remove your makeup. I think it does a really good job of really adhering to the makeup and wiping that off your face. It's got a nice enough texture where it helps to do a really good job, but it's not so rough or bumpy that it irritates the skin. It does also have a pretty good saturation. You can kind of actually hear the saturation of it and that. So I really like these. These are a really good product. And for what it's worth, my husband actually really likes these too. He likes these because they are not greasy whatsoever. So at the end of the day, when he comes home from work, occasionally he likes to use one of these to freshen up a little bit, especially if we're going out somewhere afterwards and he just wants to freshen up and, you know, clean up his face and neck and things a little bit. So anyway, again, not greasy at all. Just a nice makeup remover with a nice texture and a good saturation level. And these come at about 15 cents per towelette. So the next one that I have here is the Neutrogena Makeup Remover Cleansing Towelette. And this is probably the second largest of the bunch. Now this doesn't have a quilted type texture. It's a little bit more smooth, not rough, just more smooth, just a regular standard towelette. Doesn't have the extra texture like the Pond's does. This is a good size towelette though. You could really easily cut these in half if you wanted to make these go a little bit further. The saturation level is not quite as good as the Pond's. I don't find that it doesn't seem to have quite as much solution on them. But I also do think these do a really good job, especially of removing eye makeup. The product that they are saturated with does a really good job but it is a little bit more oily. I do feel that on my fingertips. There's definitely some slip, a little bit of oiliness to it that is not my first choice. It does a good job, but it probably is not my first choice for towelettes because of that. With the Pond's, I feel like I was mentioning, my husband using those to freshen up with. It seems like that's something you could use and then not use anything afterwards. With the Neutrogena, because it does have this little bit of oiliness, I don't know if you can really see that on my fingers, I would definitely follow up, remove my makeup and then do a follow-up cleansing, which I typically do anyway, to be honest, because I don't feel like this gets everything off, but I would not rely on these solely because I would not like the feeling on my skin afterwards, in my opinion. So that is that, but it is a very generous sized towelette. And also for the price on these Neutrogena cleansing towelettes, these are the most expensive of the bunch, coming in at an average cost of 20 cents per towelette. So you are getting a little bit larger size. So again, you could probably cut these in half, as a cost saving measure, but overall these are the most expensive of the bunch. So moving on to the next one here, these are from Target. This is their Up and Up brand Makeup Remover Cleansing Towelettes. These are comparable to the Pond's Clean Sweep. Again, these have a little bit of texture, definitely different texture than the Pond's. These just sort of have little bumps in them, but it does help to grab on to the makeup. These are a little bit more cushiony, I find, than like the Neutrogena wipes, which seem a little bit thinner. So these are more comparable to the Pond's, obviously. They are meant to be sort of a dupe for that, but not quite as thick and quilted as the Pond's. The saturation level of these is okay. I have used these quite a bit and they're just not my absolute favorite. I do like them. If I'm at Target, I will pick them up to use, but I just don't find that they do as kind of an easy job of removing makeup, and I have to work a little bit harder to get things off because I don't feel like they're as saturated. That being said, since they are comparable to the Pond's, I do find that they are nice for if you just want to clean up a bit and you don't want to have any type of oily residue like you might with the Neutrogena wipe. You might use these so that you wouldn't have to do a second cleansing step afterwards. So in that respect, they are really good. And these come in at 11 cents per towelette. Okay, so the next one that I wanted to mention is the CVS Cleansing and Makeup Remover Towelettes, and these again are comparable to the Pond's. So, and this is about average size with the other two that I have here and the original Pond's. These have a very, very similar texture to the ones from the Up and Up brand. You can see the little bump ridges on here. These have a little bit better saturation though. They definitely have a lot more of the product on them, so I really do enjoy that. I think it removes makeup a little bit better, a little easier, especially on the delicate eye area when they are more saturated like this. So that is something that I do really like about these. Again, a sort of non-greasy feel, although they are a makeup remover. Feels a little bit more like just a cleansing towelette that has the added benefit of being a makeup remover. So I really do like these. You can kind of see this has like a little diamond pattern in it, so it's not the exact same as the Up and Up, but very, very similar. If you can see the little bumps in these for texture. So that is that one, and this is also comes in at 13 cents per towelette. Okay, so the next one that I'm going to talk about here are the Equate brand, and these come from Walmart. This is their house brand. These are comparable to the Pond's original cleansing towelettes, and these are the Equate Original Clean Wet Cleansing Towelettes. I like these a lot. I think these do a really good job. Again, they have sort of a little bit of a texture to them. The little bumps in them, the quilted areas here are even less significant than the ones from the CVS. Again, with the Up and Up brand having the largest, but they are of a similar type of weave. And these are okay. Again, they don't leave an oily residue on my fingers, so I really like that. It's a nice, generous size. It seems to be well saturated, so I would say it's most similar to the CVS towelette. If I had to pick one or the other right now, I would definitely say the CVS has a little bit more saturation to it. But as far as the feel, they're almost identical. The CVS one I think, is slightly thicker. You can probably see that just on my hand here, that this one's a little bit thinner from the Equate and this one's a little bit thicker from the CVS, but both are really equally good product. And the Equate comes in at a really good price at 13 cents per towelette as well. And let me put these down. And then the final one I have here is another Equate. And these are comparable to the Neutrogena Remover Towelettes. Again, this is the Equate version from Walmart. And this one is, like I mentioned before, the largest towelette of all of them. If I can get this apart here. So this is a really generous size. These most definitely could be cut in half to make better use of them, and then you would not only get a really good price, but a really good product. These again have a little bit of the oiliness because they are similar to the Neutrogena towelettes, but also worth mentioning with these, not only are they the largest, but they are the least expensive per towelette. These come in at about 9 cents each. So as far as value, it doesn't really get better than that. These are nicely saturated. I think they are more saturated than the Neutrogena, or at least as much as. And side by side, I really can't tell a difference, other than this Equate one is slightly larger. But this is the Neutrogena original version, and this is the Equate version. They are so similar. I don't think that if it were me, I would spend the money on the Neutrogena. I would go for the Equate version because I really cannot tell a difference. I think it's an excellent product. And just as a side note, I really like the packaging. Oh, my hands are slippery now from that. Again, it kind of has an oiliness to it. I really like this packaging with the Equate. This is their standard size. This comes with 40 towelettes. And I like this little pop-open container because it keeps them really moist. Also worth mentioning is I store all of my makeup remover wipes upside down. I did do that with all of these before I tested them because I wanted to make sure they were as saturated as possible. So the night before, I just turned them all over to make sure that they were all equally saturated when I pulled them out to do the video here today. Okay, so just to go over these a little bit with you and just kind of give you some final thoughts. The largest of the towelettes is again the Equate, comparable to the Neutrogena. That is these, the one here on the end. You can see here as they have them all laid out that the Neutrogena is very large, but the Equate one is a little bit larger. So those two are pretty close, and all the others are just you can see quite a bit smaller. Nothing, terribly significant, but enough that you might take it into consideration if you're wanting to purchase these and cut them in half to get a little more use out of them. The most expensive of the wipes is the Neutrogena Original Towelettes at 20 cents each. Again, this is an average price that I came up with based on my receipts and my internet search findings. The least expensive towelette is the Equate Neutrogena, and these are at 9 cents per towelette. And again, if you're cutting them in half, that's a really great bargain because you're getting double for a really good price. Now, in my opinion, the best saturation of product has to be the Pond's Original. These just have a really nice, well, let me also say these are my favorite texture of all of them. So as far as saturation and texture, the Pond's Original are my favorite. I just think that because of the texture of these, the quilted nature of the towelette, it really just holds on to the product. And as I mentioned before, these are my husband's favorites. They just do a really nice job of taking off any dirt, oil, or makeup on your face. They're gentle, nicely saturated with the remover that is on here, the cleanser that's on here, and they don't leave any type of greasy residue whatsoever. And these come in at 15 cents per towelette. So not the most cost-effective or the least expensive, but a really nice towelette. So if we're going strictly by cost, I would say the Equate version of the Neutrogena towelette. These are very effective at removing makeup. However, I don't like a little bit of the residue. But if I'm doing a second cleansing on my skin at night, that doesn't matter so much. 9 cents a towelette, I'm definitely willing to overlook that, especially given their size, and that I could cut them in half. So I think these are the best value for their effectiveness. If I'm just going on fragrance, texture, effectiveness, the non-greasy feeling on my skin, things like that, I would definitely go with the Pond's Original Fresh. I like these quite a bit. They're 15 cents per towelette, so you are getting a little bit more pricey there, but again, they're a really nice towelettes, and they do a really good job and feel really good on my skin. So I hope this helped you make a little bit better decision if you're looking at these different makeup remover towelettes and you're trying to decide between them. Again, I just want to stress that these are just opinions, and they're just my opinions. I don't think that any of these are bad towelettes. I think they all do a really good job, which is kind of a nice surprise. I expected one of them to sort of stand out as being really ineffective, but I think all of the retailers here have done a really good job of making nice, effective wipes at a reasonable cost. So you just need to decide which one is best for you and which one you like the most. And that's all that really matters. So I thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful and that you enjoyed it. And if it was, if you please give me a thumbs up for this. And I thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you very soon.